Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be here, to have privilege to present my paper. Actually, this is really new area for me. Some friends ask me why I get this chance to attend this symposium. Actually, because my academy need me to go to Washington to translate in a meeting. It's a delegation from president of our academy and several other directors in different departments. And since I'm in United States, the director of Foreign Affairs told me that you can look for online to see whether you get a keyring, to use this keyring to attend a conference or something. Coincidentally, I got this chance and I'm so happy to meet all friends here. And although my English is not very well, it's really difficult, but I still can do some translation job for my colleagues. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. And the topic of my paper is poverty alleviation in China has been transforming China to the all-round well-off society. The first part, I'd like to tell a history of Chinese poverty alleviation. After the founding of China, government adopted relief policy to people till 1978. And China adopted, after that, adopted some other new measures, especially after land reform and township development. Poverty alleviation in China achieved rapid progress, and most large-scale poverty alleviation comes with a rapid economic growth from 1985 to 1993. Within this time, poverty alleviation organization was officially established and started to initiate a series of poverty reduction measures, which facilitated rapid reduction of poverty. In the new era from 2000 to 2010, China aimed to lift poor people out of hunger. From 2010 to 2020, China is poised to make poor people not only not worry about hunger, clothes, but also provide them with compulsory education, basic medical care, and housing. Upon the opening up policy in 1978, there were 250 million poverty population in China, and it was reduced to 26.8 million according to the poverty line of 1,274. The Chinese currency till the end of 2010, and achieved the goal of Millennium Development Goal set by the United Nations. From the end of 2011, the poverty line in China has raised to 2,300 yuan. This decision made by Central Poverty Development Office. This marked China poverty alleviation entering a whole new phase, reflecting the momentum in China's poverty alleviation undertaking. The new standard of a poverty line expanded actually the poverty population to 128 million. If we calculated by international purchasing power, the new standard actually is equal to per capita 1.8 US dollars a day. This is a little bit higher than 1.25 US dollars set by international poverty line set in 2008. It demonstrates that Chinese government is doing its best to support the poor population in China. Thanks to continuous poverty alleviation efforts, not only has the rural impoverished population reduced significantly, but also farmers' income had increased steadily. The Communist Party of China and the State Council issued Poverty Development Outline from 2011 to 2020. Actually, in the past 5 years, all the poor areas took a lot of effective measures with financial support from central government, local government, and along with some institutions, non-profit organizations, and companies, all which devoted a lot of efforts to combat poverty. It's a combination, I should say, which has been reinforced in the process till now. Poverty Development Program facilitated economic and social development in poor areas and effectively narrowed the gap among different regions, improved the living and producing conditions for poor areas, and also China is one of the countries which fulfilled the task of reducing half of the poverty population set by Millennium Development Goal, contributing efforts to anti-poverty undertaking of the world. The second part I'd like to say current campaign against poverty from 2012 to 2015 and the goal in 2020 in China. There are 14 contiguous poor areas within 592 national designated poverty development counties, totaling 1,200,000 poverty villages. And there are 5 provinces, including Tibet, Gansu, Xinjiang, Guizhou, and Yunnan, which have relatively serious poverty situations with the poverty incidence over 15%. In the following years to 2020, China is faced with the challenging job of reducing poverty population of 11.7 million per year. I attended a commissioned investigation this year led by Office of Hebei Poverty Alleviation. The investigation covers 4 cities in Hebei province, covering 9 counties. Actually, I attended. I learned how poverty alleviation is being implemented in my countries. It really surprised me a lot, and I'm so much moved by local officials, how they put their efforts and love to help poor people to achieve their children's education and to give them chances to get training, to have job. Achieving dreams of eradication poverty is a tough job. Nevertheless, Chinese government wish poverty issue could be resolved and eradicated at the end of 2020. To achieve this end, series of policies at different levels issued, aiming to push for this undertaking, featuring emphasis on targeting the most poorest people by projects, financial aid, leadership, and other measures. The major problems are following: establishing poor people records, targeting the poorest people. This is the most important fundamental. So give them targeting financing and sending assistant group. Actually, this is very impressive. From 2 years ago each year, our government from provincial level put assistant team. Each team consists of 3 persons. They are all officials from different levels to each poor village. So it means that each village gets some assistant team to help them to resolve the problem they have. This is really efficient and effective. So by differentiating measures according to different situations, such as poor people with capacity, such as poor people who are able to work should be given necessary training, financial assistance, and etc., so that they could involve into labor force, labor market, they can get job. People in areas with tough geographical situations, just like mountains, hills, they have very limited infrastructure, which hinder local people to develop viable industries. They are entitled to move into new community with subsidies. Actually, I see one new community. It was really very nice. The building was built and villagers moved in. They are happy. When we go there, ask them what do they feel. They say they are satisfied, and not only have housing, very comfortable. Also, they get some other convenient jobs, access, and assistance. And also, each poor family, each poor person get about 600 renminbi, Chinese currency, each year, to help them develop what they think they can do, and it will be added to 12,000 this year. So one family usually have 3 or 4 people. They have a lot of money, so it is not very much, but it can help them to get out of poverty with the government support. And 2 people who lost their capability to work are eligible to get asset share and subsistence allowance provided by government. And another measure is dedicated to poor people who suffer from severe illness, which cause them poverty. And another refers to exist mechanism. When poor people get out of poverty, they will not get help. If they just have another situation make them just fall into poverty, they can get access of assistance again. 2015 is the 5th year of China to build a moderately prosperous society by 2020, the 5th year of the 12th five-year plan of China, and China's rural poverty alleviation and development outline, and also the 5th year of the 5-year sprint for achieving the MDG. The Chinese government has formulated the poverty reduction goals for the end of 2020, make the objective of poverty elimination is not to worry about food and clothing, and also guarantee poor people's compulsory education, basic health care, and housing. And the third part of paper is about comparison of poverty alleviation between China and other countries. China has much to learn from successfully transformed countries which has become high-income countries, like South Korea, Japan, Malaysia, and Brazil. And above countries almost adopted policies to promote equality and a narrowing gap between urban and rural areas, the rich and the poor, by which the whole society forms a sound foundation to advance forward. To escaping middle income trap requires an entire overhaul of economic growth model, most often used by the above countries. Economists continue to propound that being a developed proposed that being a developed nation is not just about meeting the numbers set by the governmental organization, but it is also about achieving quality, equitable, and sustainable growth for the long term. The long-term predominant dualistic structural policy system and faster-growing market economy have resulted in imbalance in urban and rural economic development, especially after 1985. China adopted urban-rural dual economic development strategy in the process of market economy and urbanization, which caused the income gap between regions and between urban and rural areas. The development of the contiguous poverty areas were lagged behind. Fortunately, in time, Chinese government has carried out an organized, well-planned, and large-scale campaign for poverty alleviation through development projects, public services promotion, law building, and social reform since 1986, which includes several parts. In years of 1986, 1988, and 1994 and 2001, State Council identified or re-identified poverty-stricken counties to be supported by the state. In 2001, according to China Rural Poverty Reduction and Development Program, the poverty relief target to be aimed at was shifted from county level to village level, which resulted in an identification of 148,000 poverty-stricken villages. The second measure is the development of human capital by implementing National Migrant Workers Training Program and the Sunshine Project for Rural Labor Force Transfer Training. Poverty-stricken areas have an opportunity of vocational skills training before they get employed in non-agricultural fields. The project has played an important role in the labor capacity building in the rural area. The third measure, after tremendous efforts of urbanization and combating poverty, the dualistic household registration system was relaxed gradually from 2001. Actually, it is quite a Chinese characteristic. In a rural area, just stay in rural area, they cannot get access to city, to urban area to have a job. But gradually, this situation changed from the end of last century and have a great progress. China launched the reform of household registration system in more than 20,000 small towns and even big cities like Shijiazhuang, where I live. In 2007, Chengdu and Chongqing city became the national experimental zone of comprehensive coordinated reforms for balancing urban and rural development, which would actively explore the path for reform of household registration system. The last measure is reform of rural taxes and administrative charges, reduction and exemption of agricultural taxes, which is quite beneficial to rural areas. So the conclusion is that China indeed achieved a huge success in poverty alleviation in a relatively short period of time. China demonstrated to the world that it not only can achieve economic success, but also to achieve human rights success by assisting the most vulnerable groups, families, households in the most remote rural areas. Thank you very much.
Perfect timing. Well, just stay here for a second.
You don't want to take questions?
Yeah, we will take at least a few questions. I think it's important that everyone participates in this all-important subject. So we'll take her here first.
Thank you, Chief, for the comprehensive and useful presentation. Actually, I have a request and question. The first, it will be helpful to share this experience with us because I need it. And my question that in Sudan, we had like animal resource, we had land, we had water, and we had also human resource. Until now, half of population living under the poverty line. My question that for you, I heard about your experience with the good figures and like a good objective. If there is any challenge you face during this implementation of this experience, if there is a challenge, I think it will help us to with us. Besides sharing the implementation.
So she wants you to share with her the presentation.
And also challenging during implementing this poverty alleviation program.
Yeah, of course, it's my great honor. Actually, poverty research is quite new for me this year. I just prepared this paper for this conference because when I searched the internet, I searched our conference, I just found that it is not my field. So I asked help from Office of Poverty office. I say that I need to attend some investigation to know this field. So I know all these things. I think when I do the research more, I think it relates human rights. And it is aimed to help poor people. And I know a lot of things from this investigation. And this is just a premature paper. I will do deeper and make it complete. Thank you. If you need my paper, I will send you. Thank you.
Another one here, and then hers, and you have to wrap your time up.
My question to you is like what I got from the paper is like China is getting really urbanized. You know, people are moving from rural areas, and then you said like China is taking steps for rural development as well. So can you like elaborate those steps, like what they're doing for the rural communities? Because like a lot of third world countries, I think they're like rural in nature, so maybe.
China adopted double level development before 1980s actually, rural and urban. But it is not balanced development. We realized that and adopted some measures and policies to improve. I think we can leave our message and contact whenever we can contact. And this is the same. I think my time is up.
Hers, can we take hers and then
okay.
she's anxious to go back and then I'm holding holding you
I would
back.
like to add a comment about that. It is there was one instance where I could like share a short story too, that there's an increase with the development in rural areas. I was in Taiwan. I've been in Taiwan for 2 years now, and I've interacted with mainland Chinese scholars. They were in an exchange program, and I did this chat corner duty where we try to practice. I try to practice my Chinese, and she tries to practice her English. What I learned about her, where she's coming from a province where it's up north in China, and she's the first in her village or in her town that was able to be in a big city and also in another country, if you say Taiwan is another country.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like one of the steps I think that could prove about that. And she explained that how she traveled was by train. It was like 10-hour train ride in China, and then by a ship to the south of Taiwan, and then Taiwan to Taipei. So it was a long journey for her, but she was really happy because she was the first.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, yes.
My question would be, okay, I know it's not just the factor for poverty, but from 2002 to 2015, the unemployment rate of China has been always in just 4%. And I mean, how is that possible? But I mean, how can you try to, how's that possible? That's just my simple question.
Yeah.
But it's not just one question.
Yeah, I just sometimes ask me how it is possible. Yeah, but it did. I think we sacrifice a lot actually. It is labor intensive and resources intensive, and we pollute the air and resources actually used a lot. Actually, I think that companies need to improve their technologies, not just use the labor. I think they didn't get crisis until they will improve. Just right now, because we just set into this crisis, we start to think new way to get out of this low efficiency growth. So right now our rate is low and declining down. Actually, it's sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give us an appreciation to her. Very good. So,